10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just full power. And liftoff, OneWeb 3.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral, carrying the OneWeb Launch 17 payload. Now we're still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. And coming up in just a few seconds here, we will be approaching the point of max Q. There we go, call out for that there. At the point of max Q, we throttle the Merlin 1D engines down briefly to reduce the loads on the vehicle. We've now throttled the engines back up to full power, and this will help us continue to accelerate towards low Earth orbit. The rocket typically needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour.
MVAC engine chill has started.
Good call out there for MVAC engine chill. We need to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and actually get into orbit. So keep an eye on that stage 1 telemetry at the bottom of your screen. Now coming up, we're going to have 5 events in very quick succession. Those are main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, boost back burn, and then from there, the fairing halves will separate. So keep an eye out for those events. Again, starting with main engine cutoff, coming up on that point in just about 15 seconds here, so let's listen in for that.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
And there you go. You just heard and saw main engine cutoff, stage separation, stage 1 flip, and second engine start 1. Now we are in the middle of the boost back burn, which you can see on the left side of your screen there. That first stage has flipped around and is burning 3 of its Merlin 1D engines to head back towards the launch site, while the MVAC on the right is pushing the second stage into low Earth orbit.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
And there we go. Just had confirmation of successful boost back burn shutdown. Coming up next in just a few seconds, we will separate those fairing halves and should get a good view of our payload.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There we go. Just had successful confirmation of boost back burn end and the successful separation of both the fairing halves from the second stage. Now, both of these halves on today's mission are flying for the 6th time, and we will be attempting to retrieve them again today once they fall back to Earth using our recovery vessel, Bob.
We're just about at T plus a little over 4 minutes into today's mission, and we are in the first of 2 planned MVAC burns before satellite deployment. Now at T plus 6 minutes and 10 seconds, so a couple minutes from now, you should see on your screen the first stage's
Both vehicles
entry.
are following nominal trajectories.
You heard that both vehicles are on nominal trajectories. Great views from the first and second stages there. Now for the entry burn of the first stage, we do relight 3 of the M1D engines on the first stage, starting with the center E9 engine, followed shortly by the E1 and E5 engines, which are all in a row. And this slows the vehicle down as it passes into the Earth's atmosphere. Now we do the entry burn in order to slow down to reduce re-entry forces, which helps us to recover and reuse our first stage. During that entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating, firing those 3 Merlin engines, but we're still moving really rapidly, so the vehicle will actually fly through its own
Stage 1 entry burn.
deposit some
Start
of
up.
that carbon-based fuel soot that Falcon 9
Stage 1
uses
entry burn
onto the
shutdown.
booster. Good entry burn from the first stage.
Stage 1 FTS is safed.
The flight termination system is safe for stage 1. You can see those attitude control thrusters on the first stage firing there.
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
Both first and second stages are looking good. And our next milestone is the stage 1 landing burn, which is coming all the way back to landing zone 1 in Cape Canaveral, starting in about 15 seconds here.
Stage 1 transonic. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTS is
Stage
safe.
1 land and let deploy.
That was a beautiful landing
Stage 1
of
landing confirmed.
beautiful landing of the first stage, and there you have it. That landing marks
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
That landing marks SpaceX's 177th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including the first stage landings of Falcon 9 and Heavy. And now back to stage 2. Stage 2 is looking good with just about 10 seconds left before second engine cutoff 1. We're just waiting on confirmation of a good orbit.
Nominal orbit insertion.
You just heard that good call out for nominal orbital insertion.
Now, after completing that second MVAC burn, we are in a circular orbit about 600 kilometers above the Earth's surface, traveling about 27,000 kilometers per hour or 17,000 miles per hour. Earlier in the mission, you might have noticed that large MVAC nozzle glowing during burn 1. Now, this actually happens because the nozzle converts some of the heat of the engine's exhaust into visible light. And this is just one of the many methods that a rocket engine can use to deal with extreme heat. As you can imagine, the exhaust from the MVAC is incredibly hot. If you're just joining us, welcome to our webcast for the OneWeb Launch 17 mission. So far, we have had a nominal mission with liftoff at 2:13 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. We had a successful recovery of the first stage for the 13th time on this booster, and so far, Stage 2 has completed 2 burns. And in just about 20 seconds or so, we should be coming up on the beginning of the first payload deployment sequence. As a reminder, OneWeb is a connectivity wholesaler that provides connectivity solutions at scale in pursuit of bridging the digital divide around the world. Today's mission marks OneWeb's 17th overall launch, and it will bring their LEO constellation to 582 satellites in space. Now, it's just about 20 seconds until the first set of satellites begin to deploy. Let's listen into the nets and keep our eyes open.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 1 and Alpha 5, separation confirmed.
And there we go, confirmation of successful deployment of OneWeb Sat A1 and A5. Looks like we did get some live video coverage of that.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 4 and Alpha 8, separation confirmed.
Good news there, we did just separate another 2 OneWeb satellites, A4 and A8. Our next payload deploy should be coming up in just about 45 seconds or so. So far, we have deployed 4 out of the total 40 OneWeb satellites. And as a reminder, we have 14 total deployments in this particular sequence, so that leaves us 10 more satellites to deploy. And also, just as a reminder, the last 4 satellites may happen in the blackout period where we do not have ground station coverage, but we will confirm successful deployment of those on our next connection to a ground station.
OneWeb, Sat Bravo 1 and Bravo 5, separation confirmed.
There we go. 2 more OneWeb satellites, B1 and B5, have been separated. Getting some really cool views here of these payloads as they float off into space.
OneWeb, Sat Charlie 1 and Charlie 5, separation confirmed.
There go the next 2, C1 and C5, have successfully deployed. Should be another 20 seconds or so until the next payload deploy.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 2 and Alpha 6, separation confirmed.
There we go. 2 more satellites deployed there. Got a great shot of those satellites floating off into space. A2 and A6 have successfully deployed. And with that call out, we can confirm successful deployment of all 40 OneWeb satellites, which will wrap up our coverage for today.
All of us here at SpaceX want to give a big thank you to our customer OneWeb for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to give a shout out to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting today's launch. Today's launch includes our 215th overall SpaceX mission to date and 16th launch of the year. And to all of our viewers, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.